If you're watching this video, you're going to learn a couple of shortcuts for the convertible rosary. So I mentioned in the other video that there was a correction that instead of 5 feet, we're going to be using 5.5 feet. I would say play with the length because everybody's knots are different. If you can make it with less cord, fine. If you need more cord, that's fine too. So what you're going to do is you're going to start with your roll with the one end taped and measure out however much you're looking for. So I'm going to go ahead and do this at 5.5 feet. 5.5. Now, the shortcut will enable you to tape one side instead of both sides, and let me show you how that's going to work. So I'm going to go ahead and put a piece of tape at 5.5 feet. Now, what you can also do if you want to do a bunch of them all at once, although like I said, I would test the size in the beginning, but if you want to cut a bunch of them all at once, you can just fold it and keep measuring like this rather than cutting it and then measuring the next one. I found that this is a lot easier if I do maybe 10, 20, 30 at a time. Do as many as you like. And then again, you can just fold it before we start cutting and do that measurement again. Okay, and you can do that over and over. Now, when you cut it here, you want to leave the tape on the end. This cord, if you don't tape it or tighten a knot or burn it or something, it'll fray. You don't want that to happen. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut it at the end, and then immediately I'm going to tie one knot at the very end. This is actually going to be the stopper of the hoop for our convertible rosary. Now, if you want to go a step further after you do all of these, you can trim this and burn it before you actually start making the rosary to make sure it doesn't come apart. You want to make sure this knot is secure. If it's not secure, it'll come apart, this will fray, and it will all start coming unraveled. You don't want that to happen. So if you do a bunch of cords, we knot at that end. So this end you want the tape, and again you would do the same thing, and now you're going to knot this end. See how it's already starting to fray, okay, and so on and so forth, okay, and you can do as many cords as you like, and then tie the knot. Now, when we go to make the hoop, makes it slightly easier because there's not a whole lot of measuring now. We're going to make the Hail Mary knot right on top of that. So you're going to fold it. Now the hoop, if you think about, you want it about this, the opening of the hoop about the size of a quarter, maybe a little bit bigger than that. You'll see at the end, you'll get used to it. But basically you fold it over like this, and the first Hail Mary knot goes around this cord. So with the knot right there, that's going to be our first Hail Mary knot, and then you just make it the way you normally would. So instead of tying the knot at the very end, we're just doing it at the very beginning. Okay, and like I said, if you want to cut the cords, tie the knots, and burn them, and then start making your convertible rosaries, that might be even easier yet. It just depends on what materials you have access to. So then you will continue with the rest of the convertible rosary as we have in the other directions. So that is the shortcut on taping the cords, cutting the cords, and making the loop. One other thing that I wanted to share with you is sometimes we said that the spacing should be tight, but occasionally we'll get to the point where there's not enough cord to wrap it 5 times around our finger in order to add the metals. So if that is the case and you're running short on cord, here's what you can do. Take a regular straw from the store. Honestly, the McDonald's straws work well because they're fatter, they're even better. And then you cut out just a little section. You can see how this is, I cut out just this little section right here. Okay, and you'll see how that works in a minute. And then instead of using your finger, if you use the straw, it's thinner and it has more give, so it goes even thinner yet. So you just hold it as such and you make your knot the same way you normally would around your finger, but now you're using the straw. And then that little slit makes it really easy to just push your string through. And then you would go ahead and add your metals, as we do. And then again, you go back into the slit this time. You can see I'm much more used to working with my fingers, but this works if you get in a pinch. Okay, and the nice thing about this too is when you pull the straw out, you're already with a kind of a smaller knot to work with, so in some ways that makes it easier. And sometimes I get people that have difficulty working with their hands because of arthritis and things like that, and the straw tends to work easier. Now, you can do the household straw and make it yourself. Like I said, the McDonald's ones work out really, really well. Just the regular ones like I use right now work out fine. Also, if you go to OurLadyRosaryMakers.org, or I think it's called now RosaryMakingParts.com or .org, you can also buy these little tools, which basically is pretty much the same thing as the straw that I made, but if you feel more comfortable working with plastic, you can do that as well. So I think those are all the shortcuts that you need.